the Sexual Dysfunction Research Project here at the Department of Molecular Biology, University of Oxford. Our approach is empirical, that is to say, the treatment, a synthetic enzyme code-named KXC79, is adjusted in response to each set of results. All the participants are volunteers and are assessed by my colleague Dr. Susan Minstock using a number of standard evaluations, the Derogatis Sexual Functioning Inventory, the Locke-Wallace Marital Adjustment Test, the Female Sexual Function Index, etc., before a decision is made as to whether they are suitable for inclusion. It is always explained to the volunteers exactly what the study will involve. To date, 31 potential subjects have declined to take part after these initial conversations. Nevertheless, early results have been encouraging. See, for example, S.J. Fisher and S. Minstock, KXC79 and Female Sexual Dysfunction, some encouraging early results. 2007. Miss G was slightly unusual in that she was a postgraduate student here at the university who heard about the project from one of our research assistants. Footnote: the research assistant has since been terminated. End of footnote. Strictly speaking, this was a breach of our selection protocol. However, Miss G worked in a completely different field, English literature, and in all other respects fulfilled our criteria. She was anorgasmic and had previously consulted a doctor to make sure it wasn't just a virus. Notes were kept from initial and subsequent interviews. She had also experienced relationship problems. It wasn't just that I couldn't have orgasms, it was the fact that sex was such a big part of his life and I couldn't share that. I simply had no interest in it, almost as if I were going out with a football fan but was bored by sports. Based on this discussion and the questionnaires, Dr. Minstock made a tentative diagnosis of hypoactive arousal disorder and accepted her onto the study. I myself met Miss G for the first time when she came to the lab for her induction. As this meeting, apparently so ordinary, was in some ways the beginning of the whole sorry fiasco, I suppose I should pause at this point to note my initial impressions of her. As a person, I mean. The truth, though, is that I did not really have any. If I may be allowed a small, subjective observation, what I recall most is being somewhat annoyed that she was there at all. My understanding was that the data collection phase of our study was completed, at least for the time being, whilst I prepared our latest findings for publication. It was work that required a great deal of concentration, and when Dr. Minstock showed someone into the lab, I did not, at first, look up from my computer. "This is where the hands-on part happens," my colleague was saying. "Well, when I say hands-on, of course, I don't necessarily mean that literally. We got toys to suit every taste." Needless to say, I did not respond to this, either. Dr. Minstock's jocular manner, which she frequently assures me is simply a psychological stratagem to put test subjects and co-workers at their ease, on occasion strays, it seems to me, into flippancy. Great scientists from the past, men such as James Watson and Francis Crick, say, when they were engaged in their revolutionary work on DNA, never felt the need to be flippant. But Dr. Minstock, as a sexologist, does not always have quite the same regard for scientific method that I do. "That's Dr. Fisher, who is in charge of the biochemical side," she added in a deafening whisper. "Don't worry, we won't disturb him if we're quiet. Over here's the photoplethograph. Basically, it's like a little light we pop inside so we can see what's going on." "Photoplethysmograph," I said without raising my head. "What?" "That is a photoplethysmograph, not a photoplethograph. It calibrates reflected light. The darker the flush, the greater the vasodilation." "Oh, yes," Dr. Minstock said brightly. "Photoplethysmograph, of course." "What's vasodilation?" I did look up then. There was something about the voice that had just spoken, something wry, ironic, even as if the speaker were somehow mocking herself for not knowing the answer. Or, it occurred to me a fraction of a second later, as if she were somehow mocking me for knowing it. In short, I thought I had discerned in the way the visitor had spoken a spark of real intelligence, an impression only partially dispelled by her appearance. I did not at that point know Miss G was an arts graduate, but I could probably have deduced it. She was attractive, strikingly so. I might as well make that clear at the outset, but she was striking, if this makes sense, in an entirely unremarkable way. A pleasant face, torn